You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Before this podcast kicks off, let's talk about goals. The greatest goal is a native tree crowdfunding campaign, leaving a legacy for Aotearoa New Zealand as co-host of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023. Visit treesthatcount.co.nz to donate a native tree for a brighter future.
Football Fever with News Talk ZB's voice of football, Jason Pine and Bonnie Jansen with Trees That Count. Donate a native tree and help us score the greatest goal.
Kia ora, welcome into Football Fever, your daily World Cup podcast with treesthatcount.co.nz. I'm Jason Pine. Bonnie Jansen from the New Zealand Herald is alongside. We've got our first semi-final confirmed after yesterday's first two quarterfinals. Going to start in the sunshine in Wellington. Spain 2, the Netherlands 1. After extra time, Spain are into the Women's World Cup semi-finals for the first time. Your United States are gone, and now your Dutchies are gone, Bonnie.
Isn't it crazy that we're already talking about the semi-final? Like, I know my favourite teams are gone, but wow, what a tournament it's been, and here we are at the pointy end.
Indeed. So, Mariona Caldente looked to have given Spain the win when she converted an 80th minute penalty, Stephanie van der Graat handling in the box. But then van der Graat went from villain to hero, went up the other end, and what a finish, by the way, for the equaliser. So that was quite late, wasn't it, in stoppage time?
I thought that goal was amazing, and everyone was talking about the goal after that, which we'll get to, but I just thought that finish was incredible, and a good fight from the Dutchies to come back into that game.
106th and, as it turns out, final match for Stephanie van der Graat. She's been just such a key part of this Dutch side for so long now and has been excellent during this tournament. I mean, good on her though, because she handled, and VAR needed to have a look at it for the penalty, but it must be easy to drop your head when that happens. But she thought, no, stick me up front and I'll get you your equaliser.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you need to do that in those games and the last dying minutes, and you're desperate for a goal, send everyone forward, and true character to, obviously they went down because of her, but to come back into the game because of her was really cool.
I want to talk about extra time in a moment and what played out during the extra time in this game, but Spain dominated the 90 minutes, didn't they? Particularly the first half. They should really have put this game to bed a lot earlier than they did.
They did dominate the game, and I think we talked about that probably being the case, that Spain would dominate the possession, but they're not as clinical as some of these other teams have been. So that's why I kind of was thinking towards the end of the match, before that 80th minute penalty, was, the Netherlands are winning this, because Spain have had all these opportunities but haven't scored. So, I mean, they came away with it in the end, and good on them, and probably deservingly so. But they're going to need to find, make the most of that possession going forward. They're
always going to have the most possession, aren't they? That's the way Spain play the game. I think they had 62% in this game, which is actually lower than some of the other games they've played. They're always going to have possession. As you say, it's converting the chances. They hit the post a couple of times. They had the ball in the back of the net, but it was disallowed for offside, and then they needed VAR to give them the penalty. The Netherlands, they also had a penalty given by Stephanie Frappard, the referee, who's been one of the better referees at this World Cup. And then she overturned that decision on VAR. I was interested in this because it felt like the game was being re-refereed. It didn't seem to me like a clear and obvious error.
No, yeah, and this is my issue with VAR that I'm having, and we'll talk about the Japan game, but it's just changing the momentum of the game, and it's annoying, and I get it, and I get that it needs to be there, but and it's bringing out the best in some of these sides, but also it is annoying.
All right, extra time. Dutch should have taken the lead. Lineth Berenstain firing over from just 6 yards out. I'm sure the American players would have enjoyed that after her comments the previous day. Okay, bye, she said. But then teenage winger Selma Parahuelo off the bench, a 111th minute winner, the latest match-winning goal in Women's World Cup history. She's a player. But did you see, in fact, I think you might have messaged me, Spanish coach Jorge Vilda took Aitana Bonmati, the best player in the tournament, in many people's eyes, off when they were 1-0 up, with time almost up in normal time.
Exactly. He learned his lesson for sure, didn't he? Yeah, it was kind of a rookie error to take her off. She's been the star of the tournament and everyone's talking about her, you know, potentially winning the next Ballon d'Or. So, yeah, rookie move.
Alexia Putellas, when did she come on? About the 100th minute? She has not had the tournament most people expected.
I know, and I feel really bad, and I mean, this is complete speculation, but there was all that conflict and protest from the players before the tournament started, not wanting Vilda in charge of this team and having some disputes with the coach. But Spanish football said, look, we'll make some changes, but we're not getting rid of the coach. And Putellas was one of them, hesitant to come back. And I almost wonder if maybe she's being punished for that protest. I doubt it, because she hasn't been playing amazing, and surely, you got to be professional as a coach and put your best players on the field. But, to bring her on that late in the game, I mean, they weren't up convincingly. Like, come on, she won, she's a 2-time Ballon d'Or winner for a reason, and yeah, she might have had, not an amazing tournament, but I don't think she's really been given the opportunity to have an amazing tournament.
She certainly hasn't. Well, she's got another opportunity now. They're into a semi-final at least. She could even play in a World Cup final. We'll wait and see. Just before we move on from this game, I saw a great tweet from Paul Eiffel yesterday, talking about Bonmati. He said after today's amazing encounter, Aitana Bonmati spent 45 minutes signing autographs and taking pictures with every last fan who was there. A special player and an even better person, said Paul Eiffel, which is great to see.
The Football Fever Podcast with Jason Pine and Bonnie Jansen, with trees that count. Donate a native tree and help us score the greatest goal.
Quarterfinal 2, Eden Park last night. Sweden 2, Japan 1. Sweden qualify for their 5th World Cup semi-final. Japan's very impressive 2023 tournament comes to an end. You were there last night. Cracking performance from Sweden. Their best of the tournament, I reckon.
Yeah, it was their best performance, for sure. And I couldn't help but think, imagine if the States were here and what a show that would have been. But, yeah, Sweden really, kind of flourished and came to their potential last night. And honestly, my review is that I think they kind of out-strengthened. They were too big of players for this Japanese side.
Yeah, technically Japan have been so good, and were again last night for periods. But then you look at the goal scorers, and Amanda Ilestedt got another goal. She's a centre-back. She's got 4 goals at the tournament now, almost all from set piece, but she was in and around the box. I thought that was actually quite rare, bad defending in the penalty area by Japan not to clear that ball, because they had about 2 or 3 chances to clear it before Ilestedt put it in the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this being Sweden's best performance, but you could almost argue this was Japan's worst performance of the tournament. It was kind of sloppy defending and unexpected when they conceded that goal. I kind of, thought better from them. But, yeah, Sweden dominated the possession most of the game, but just still parts of, how the Japanese were playing, I was still so impressed with the way they, and they're playing the highlights on the TV in front of me right now, but yeah, I'm so impressed with the way they've played this tournament, and it's a shame that they've gone down, but good on Sweden.
VAR involved in this game as well. A couple of penalties awarded, 1 to each side. I thought they both kind of had a degree of controversy about them. The Japan one, she's just fallen over her own feet, hasn't she? I don't know why they haven't gone back. In fact, there was no VAR in that one, but the one that was given to Sweden for handball, because when she's jumping, it hits her arm. I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to jump for a header with your hands down beside your sides like you're doing river dance or something.
Yeah, no, that the Japanese penalty I thought was fair enough. I was right there at the end of the goal watching that, and there was actually, she was kind of dragging the player even outside the box, and it kept going, but I felt really bad for the Swedish player that caused the foul, because she had only just been subbed on. Like, that was her first kind of play of the game, so that was unfortunate. But I thought that was definitely a foul and a penalty. But yeah, the Swedish penalty that they got, the handball, that was so unfortunate. I mean, it was her blind spot. She had a player in front of her, and then the player moved, and then it just came straight to her hand. Like, there was nothing she could do. And yeah, I thought that was a bad use of VAR.
Well, it got Sweden the goal, which was eventually the winner. Honoko Hayashi eventually pulling a goal back for Japan in the 87th minute, and they gave it a crack near the end, but ultimately Sweden held on. Is this a good time to remind you who I picked pre-tournament to win the whole thing, Bonnie?
Well, Piney, you picked that Japan would win last night, so you can't keep swapping and changing the teams here, all right? But yes, we know you picked Sweden.
I think it's entirely within the rules to chop and change as the tournament goes on. Our first semi-final is locked in Tuesday night in Auckland. It'll be Spain against Sweden.
While this podcast takes a halftime break, let's talk about The Greatest Goal, a crowdfunding campaign leaving a legacy for Aotearoa New Zealand as co-hosts of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 by asking fans to donate a native tree. Each native tree costs just $10, and whether you donate one or many, you'll be contributing to amazing restoration projects across Aotearoa. Visit treesthatcount.co.nz to donate a native tree and help us score the greatest goal. Looks like we're ready to kick off the second half.
And the second half is about tonight's 2 quarterfinals. Another couple of really mouth-watering ties to look forward to. Starting at what will be a jam-packed Brisbane Stadium, Australia against France tonight. Australia looking to make history by progressing beyond the quarterfinals for the first time. France are the world number 5. Australia are the world number 10. Can't wait for this game. What's your general assessment of what you see playing out?
I'm just so excited for it. Firstly, I think this is the quarterfinal of the round, of the tournament, and it's going to be so exciting. But I'm backing Australia to win for 2 reasons. Firstly, they've just had an exceptional tournament and they've just gotten better and better as the tournament's progressed. But secondly, you can't doubt how, and obviously they've got the home advantage, but you can't doubt how well they've performed as a team, and they've got a really good team culture, and we're seeing that on and off the field and through their social media, and how bad they want this. Whereas France, they've got so many individual talents and some really, really world-class players, but I don't think they've got that team culture, and at the end of the day, team culture is such a big thing to win games.
There is so much hype around about this game over in Australia, and there's any number of anecdotal pieces of evidence to suggest how much Matilda mania has taken over there. Just a couple. They're moving the news. They're moving the news on Channel 7 so that it doesn't interrupt the football. And even one of the biggest AFL games, which is taking place in Melbourne today at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the MCG, scheduled to start at 7:30 Australian time. They have said that if the Matildas game goes into extra time and penalties, they won't start the Aussie rules game until it's all done. They're showing the Matildas on the big screen for the 90,000 fans who turn up to watch the Aussie rules, and they won't start the Aussie rules until the Matildas game's over.
That's class. That's absolute class. And I feel like New Zealand doesn't even get around a team that much for like the All Blacks, Like it's so cool how much they're getting around it, and I know they're hosting this World Cup, but it's just incredible, and that's exactly another reason why they should take this game out. But at the same time, that amount of pressure. I mean, they've got literally the whole country and the whole world eyes on them. So that's a lot of pressure to carry into this game.
It's such a good point. And in fact, I think it's the key point in this whole discussion is, will that pressure weigh heavy on them, or will that pressure be a wave that carries them into the semi-finals? And I can't wait to find out which it is. Sam Kerr is back to, well, she's good enough to play. She played 10 minutes against Denmark. What role she plays tonight will be intriguing to see, whether they put her on from the start or whether they use her off the bench again. Just before we move on to the second of the quarterfinals tonight, just wanted to play you a little snatch of audio from yesterday when Ellie Carpenter from the Australian side was up before the media, and she was asked, what this tournament has meant to her, to the Matildas, and to the game of football in Australia.
When I was growing up, I was with a boys' team. I didn't have a girls' team. I went and watched the Matildas play when I was 12 years old, and I think there was 300 people in the stadium. But that still wanted me to play for Australia. I still was dreaming to play on that pitch with the girls when 300 people were in the stand. And I think now if I was a 12-year-old in Stadium Australia in Suncorp watching sold-out crowds, like how amazing that is for them young girls, young boys to see that. How far we've come is just unimaginable. I'm so proud to be a part of this generation, that what we have done changed women's sport in Australia, not just football, but generally in sport. And our job this World Cup was to inspire the next generation, and hearing how many people are watching our games, coming to our games, having live sites around Australia. They're showing our game in 4 major stadiums, the game tomorrow, and that's just incredible. And when we rock up to the games and see everyone in our jerseys and screaming fans, it's touching, and honestly, like, it makes me a bit emotional because it's just so amazing. And this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to inspire the next generation and, pave the way for women's football in Australia.
The Football Fever Podcast with Jason Pine and Bonnie Jansen, with Trees That Count. Donate a native tree and help us score the greatest goal.
Second quarter-final tonight in the 4th of 4. England-Colombia. Sydney, 10:30. England are world number 4. Colombia, world number 25. England have kind of improved after a bit of a slow start to the tournament. Colombia have been a bit of a surprise package, and they beat both Germany and South Korea during group play, beat Jamaica in the last 16, only conceding 2 goals so far. Furthest they've ever been at a Women's World Cup. Does it end tonight for Colombia, do you think, or is there one more performance in their locker?
Well, anyone going into this game is most likely, picking England. It's a sure fact. But it's when you say all those stats, I'm kind of worried now that Colombia are quite a dark horse and could come out of this game on top.
I don't know. It's hard to know, obviously, but I wonder whether they're one of those teams, and we talked a bit about this in one of the previous pods, who have overachieved. I don't think anybody expected Colombia probably to even get to the round of 16, let alone the quarterfinals. They have overachieved. They'll go home with their heads held extremely high, regardless of what happens against England tonight. Could it be a bridge too far? Or, again, do they just play unencumbered because, you know what, there's nothing to lose?
Well, that's the thing, and that's how Morocco played in the Men's World Cup last year, right? They reached the semi-finals, and they completely overachieved. But that's the thing we talked about before, Australia having all this pressure on them, whereas Colombia have no pressure. They've got nothing to lose. They're playing, the European champions who have a lot to lose at this point, and why not just go out there and give it a good crack and hope for the best, because, that's what they'll be doing. And also in their last matchup, they had a huge fan base behind them, and I could hear through the TV, the Colombian crowd. So they'll be fighting tonight for sure.
Yeah, what does Stadium Australia hold? City 80,000? I think it'll be sold out there as well. They're showing the Matildas game before it, both inside the stadium and outside on big screens, and then the fans will go in to watch England play Colombia. All right, we know Sweden are playing Spain on Tuesday night. Who you got going through from these 2 quarterfinals tonight?
Australia and England.
I've got Australia and England as well, but we both picked the Dutch and Japan yesterday.
I really hope we haven't jinxed ourselves here, because we picked it wrong yesterday, and if we've picked it wrong again today, then wow, I'll be pretty sad.
Yeah, maybe
it'll be like all my favourite teams gone.
I was going to say they might cancel the podcast due to a lack of credibility, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. All right, enjoy your day. Enjoy these 2 games tonight. We'll speak to you tomorrow.
In this post-match review, let's score the greatest goal by donating a native tree to leave a legacy for Aotearoa New Zealand as co-hosts of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023. Visit treesthatcount.co.nz to donate a native tree for a brighter future.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday, or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.